Hey everybody, welcome back to Integrative Psychonautics. So in today's video, I want to share with you a new idea that I've kind of cooked up myself that I think will be of interest to you. And it really kind of addresses this question of how can we use spiritual experiences, in particular, non-dual experiences, mystical experiences, oneness experiences, however you want to describe that. How can we take those amazing, profound, beautiful, life-changingly deep experiences and moments we've had and turn that into some sort of a therapeutic transformation that helps us to really heal. So if you're interested in that kind of question, please watch on. I think you're going to enjoy this. Okay, yeah, and I can hear you guys already groaning on the other side of the screen right now. Didn't he just put out a video recently about how ego death will not heal your trauma? Yes, I did. And I also said, along with, that point, which I stand by, and I, in my experience, has been very true. I also said that it's quite nuanced. And so I want to start to present to you a different angle on this. And so, yes, I want to acknowledge that that can seem a little hypocritical here, but I also want to start to give you the goods here in terms of answering this question of how do we use our spiritual experiences for actual lasting personal transformation? Because I think that's really kind of the holy grail, a lot of us would be after here is taking these peak experiences and not letting them just fade into the past, but rather turn into lasting healing, lasting change. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that up front here with you guys and know that yes. And in case you didn't see that video, if you want to watch it, I'll try to leave a card up here, and I'll also try to leave the link down below so that you guys can go check out that video if you want the other side of what I'm talking about here. So now said, let's go ahead and get into the content. The idea that I want to convey to you guys is something called therapeutic non-duality. And I'll do my best to try to explain it to you and try to make it kind of cogent and coherent, but please try to bear with me here because I've never explained this before. I didn't even write full notes out. This is kind of just off the top of my head here. So if I ramble a bit, as I know I do, please try to kind of bear with me. But again, I will try to be to the point. So here's the problem that I notice happens a lot with clients when I'm working with them, especially if they're people who maybe have really entrenched issues or, have really been stuck with an issue for a long time or are just kind of under cultivated when it comes to maybe spiritual practice or using psychedelics or personal growth work. And all of this is kind of new territory and they're kind of just coming out of really struggling with stuckness, right? One of the patterns that I often see for this kind of a person is a very entrenched polarity, right? Some sort of relational thing going on, often between oneself and another person, but it could be oneself and a goal or an object we want to experience or a dynamic, right? But there's this strong opposition between at least two pieces, or agents or beings or people or however you want to think of it, if not more, sometimes 3 or 4 or however many aspects here that are kind of in tension and in conflict. And from inside the perspective of the issue or the problem, it feels like there's no clear way on how to resolve the tension, the conflict, right? And this is often where most people are at subjectively when it comes to being stuck with an issue, right? Often we kind of have a conflict, for example, like a classic personal growth one might be, I want to grow, I want to level up, I want to mature as an adult, I want to make more money, I want to have a great relationship, but I also want to feel safe and comfortable and be soothed. And these things kind of are in a dynamic tension between different parts of ourselves or different needs within ourselves, right? That'd be one example. Could also be relational. I want to be more extroverted, outgoing, and meet people, but I'm also afraid of being judged, and I've been judged a lot in my life, and I don't know how to resolve this conflict, right? So this kind of thing is super, super common. And something I see a lot with my clients. And so how does non-duality relate to that? You might be wondering. Well, let me try to explain it to you. So how could we use non-duality to heal that, right? okay, I'm like just thinking about how I want to put this out there. So I'm going to add an idea in here, and I'm probably not going to get the quote quite right. I'm not even sure if it's accurately attributed, but the quote supposedly from Einstein goes, you cannot solve a problem at the same level of thinking that caused it, right? So if we are stuck in some sort of level of thinking, level of perception and relating that keeps us in this entrenched oppositional stuck thing, right? We can't think through the filters of that fear or those desires or that judgment or that unwillingness to forgive or what have you, whatever it is that keeps that tension, that opposition in place. We can't think through those patterns of thinking and feeling and somehow resolve the whole thing, right? So in other words, another way of saying this is we need to move to a higher level of perception or thought or relationship to whatever the conflict is in order to get a different vantage point that gives us new options and allows us to resolve wherever it is we're stuck. Okay, so that's the basic idea behind kind of driving this concept of therapeutic non-duality. And so let me explain my understanding of non-duality a little bit, and then hopefully this will start to make sense. So a lot of times when we're having a non-dual experience, when we are having a oneness with God moment, or we're having a I'm part of everything, everything's part of me moment, or we're having a pure emptiness moment, a satori moment, however you want to describe that. Quick side note, it's funny that I say that so glibly because these are such a huge part of my life, these types of experiences, and so deeply profound to me. But I want to handle this content lightly. So anyways, say you've had that kind of an experience, right? Now, one of the features of those types of moments and those types of experiences is this sense that you kind of get in touch with the energy, if you will, or the life force or the electromagnetic current, or there are different ways to describe it, inside the body. Right. And we start to perceive that as also being not only inside the body, but inside everything around us, all the matter around us, but also, if you're really going deep into an immersion of all oneness, all the space around us too. So in a really deep mystical non-dual moment, we will perceive matter and space as both being equally imbued with the quality of life or aliveness, but also with spaciousness and emptiness, both matter and space, both self and other, kind of everything, again, all one. This is kind of one of the features of the all one. So we start to become more aware, and we start to actually, in a strange way, identify a little bit with not only ourselves, and not only just with form and with matter, but also with the spaciousness, the information, the awareness in space as well as in the form. I hope this is making sense. If you never had a mystical experience or never done psychedelics, I probably just sound like super woo-woo. But this is a pretty palpable, commonly perceived thing in a mystical experience moment. As we're perceiving this experience of space and matter being kind of equal, all parts of the same thing, that really starts to unravel the sense of polarization and conflict between objects. So one of the things we can do is to shift our vantage point from identifying with self to identifying with the space in which this self and another self are both contained in. Right? And this is often what spiritual teachers do, and people who are really advanced in spirituality do. They hold this awareness, this presence, this sense of connection, not to their own body and their own personalities and identities, or, in a relational object to object thing. They hold an awareness and an identification with the entire room they're in, the entire spaciousness and beyond the room to all space, right? And if you make this perceptual shift to I am the space, or we are relating, the opposing objects that are in the conflict, we are relating inside of a container of space that holds us. This sense of container and space that holds us, that is a binding thing, kind of the water we swim in, so to speak, if you allow that to become more primary, you can move outside of this vantage point of yourself and the struggle and the needs from that particular point of view. And you can move to different points of view, whether that's taking, the perspective, stepping into the body or the vantage point of the other, or taking a third person point of view, or kind of imagining yourself floating up above the whole scene and seeing it from, up above from bird's eye, or what have you. As you start to shift your perspective from different points of view and identify with the container, all of a sudden new options become available to us. We start to see and process the experience differently. And this is how we can start to use this kind of sense of non-duality in a therapeutic, resolving the issue kind of way, right? And so this is something I would encourage you to start to do, to start to think of yourself not only as form, as person, personality, mind, identity, body. Think of yourself as space. Think of yourself as being connected to all the air around you, or, the room you're in, or what have you. I was describing this to a client recently. We're talking about a relational thing. I won't go into specifics out of respect, of course, and confidentiality, of course. But we're talking about a relational thing. And from this client's perspective, there was very much, this him versus other people, kind of thing. And I was saying, what about the experience of the relationship being bigger than any right or wrong that happens from each person inside of it? Sometimes that kind of unconditionality can be toxic. Let's be fair. But a lot of times this is the signal of a secure attachment, secure relational, framework, is that the relationship and the love and the connection and the trust is bigger than the faux pas, the moments of awkwardness, the moments of minor conflict, the moments of disagreement. And in fact, when that relational field, that container of the relationship is bigger and strong, people can really, like when you think in the case of best friends who totally can say anything with each other, and practically do anything to each other, and it's all love. People can do a lot inside of a container, and that container, if it's strong enough, can really absorb and make things that otherwise we might be really nervous or worried about or are really sensitive to in conflict. Right. And so again, if we want to soften these places where we are stuck between two objects, dynamics, people, however you want to think about it, if we start to expand our awareness beyond just the actors or the objects or what have you, into the spaciousness around them and the relational field around them and how they are held inside of a relational field, and what from that perspective, from the relational field perspective, is kind of the balancing, the healing, the resolving, as that gets stronger, it will become easier to start to figure it out, to start to release, to start to let go. So this is one way that we can start to, really what we're doing is creating a shift in our awareness. We're shifting in identity, shifting in level of consciousness from I am a me to I am a we, I am a space, I am a container to as well as a me. And in doing that, we really start to open up these new possibilities. So this is one of a few ways that you can start to use non-duality applied in a therapeutic way, right? And so I would encourage you, if you've ever had one of these experiences, and you know what I'm talking about in terms of identifying with space and feeling connected to everything and feeling yourself a part of everything and everything a part of you, I would encourage you to start to practice this kind of awareness more, this more expansive awareness of yourself as room, yourself as space. And also, when you're with other people, practice feeling that connective relational field as being as strong as your behavior or their behavior. Because in the absence of that, that's where so much of this anxiety of right and wrong, good and bad, have to do the right thing, performance anxiety, this kind of stuff, perfectionism starts to arise. It starts to arise when we don't have a sense of container. We don't have a sense of wholeness. We don't have a sense of interconnection. We don't have a sense of there is a bigger thing here that holds both of us inside of it. This is why also I think another way of thinking about it, why groups, are so powerful. Group consciousness is so powerful, whether that's, at a concert, or a festival at maybe the more joyful recreational end of things, or whether you're looking at like a business organization that's really powerful, or the military, or there's all kinds of examples all across the board, groups of friends, where when we get together in a group dynamic, there's an emergent values system, value set, quality of relating, way of being that starts to come out of it that is powerful. And that unitive feeling really empowers us to behave in different ways, to process each other, to process our relationship, to process the moment in really, really different ways. And I do. I think this is a really practical way to start to apply spirituality in our lives. So as strange as that sounds, as woo-woo as that sounds, if you are interested in using non-duality to start to heal, this is a huge way, and maybe this is something you already do. Maybe this is something you already know how to do. You intuitively did. You started to just feel. I know a lot of people in the festival space kind of just start to get it and just kind of intuitively have this like felt sense of the shared we-ness of that space, and any relational kind of quality between the actors is an expression of the wholeness kind of playing out in the particulars. There are other ways to use non-dual experiences. I'll just say, and then we'll wrap the video here. There are other ways to use non-dual experiences for personal transformation work, which is stuff I do in integration and also prep with people. It's part of my transformational coaching. If you have experience with these kinds of experiences and you're stuck with a problem, there are ways to put them together that really can create transformation. So I want to just kind of plant that seed as a notion too. This is not the only way to do therapeutic non-duality, but it's a way to do therapeutic non-duality. So I want to kind of offer you a new idea. Hopefully it's at least interesting, compelling, stirs something for you. If you resonate with this, or if you disagree or what have you, feel free to leave a comment down below. I'd really love to get some feedback on what you think about this idea. If you think it's cockamamie nonsense, not usable, totally applicable, you get what I'm saying, you don't get what I'm saying, let me know. It'd be great. And as always, if you like this kind of content, do the usual, like, subscribe, thumbs up, let the algorithm know, send videos to your friends, that kind of a thing. And also, if you would like some help, applying some of your spiritual experiences into your life to create transformation and change, that's what I love to do with people. Feel free to hit me up. My email will be down in the video description down below. And that's all for this video. Much love to you. Take care. I will talk to you guys soon.